Hi, this is Ron with Crypto Intelligence. I also have my own data analytics channel where I use data to analyze crypto, sports, politics, anything that where data makes a difference. Today I'll be talking to you about Bitcoin and we'll go through the scarcity of Bitcoin and making the case for why I believe the bull run is still about to happen here in this bull run cycle. So let's get right into it. So Bitcoin is a very scarce asset. It's compared oftentimes to gold. However, it's even more scarce than gold. So there's 19.992 million Bitcoin in circulation. And out of those, a lot of those are locked down. Like people cannot even purchase Bitcoin using all of that supply. 3.7 million of that supply is lost forever. When the early times of Bitcoin, there were, a lot of wallets which didn't take the proper management of their keys seriously, and to I'm sure the owners' dismay, they've lost their keys and have lost the Bitcoin forever. And this also includes Satoshi Nakamoto's stash. He was the founder of Bitcoin, and it's known that he has about a million Bitcoin, which he never planned to use. Um, as you know, or may know, MicroStrategy, now renamed Strategy, has uh, put up or has picked up a pretty big stockpile of Bitcoin and continues to accumulate Bitcoin. They just recently did another stock issue where they're getting another $700 million, and I'm sure they're getting ready to spend most of that on purchasing more Bitcoin. So there's about half a million Bitcoin that MicroStrategy already owns and is locked away for a good amount of time. There's about 10.2 million Bitcoin hodlers per se. It's about 75% of the remaining Bitcoin that actually that are available for purchase. These are Bitcoin enthusiasts or investors that believe that Bitcoin is a store of value and also believe that and plan to hold their Bitcoin for a long period of time. Then also in March, the U.S. announced the forming of a strategic reserve, and the first amount of Bitcoin that actually went into that reserve was Bitcoin that was confiscated from criminal activities. That's about 200,000 Bitcoin. And then I allocated about 100,000 of other entities that are currently accumulating Bitcoin. That includes other companies like Mara, and as well there's another gaming company that's decided to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and other nations and state governments have also announced that they are going to be using Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. So that leaves about 5.293 million Bitcoin in circulation, if you can see here. Um, that's still a large amount of Bitcoin that gets basically passed from buyers to sellers. But that's basically the amount of Bitcoin that is available for sale. So looking here closely, here is a number of um, things to compare Bitcoin to gold. Some of these are a little bit outdated, and I should have updated these. But basically, some of the more key points here are that Bitcoin is considered digital gold, and gold for a long time has historically been a store of value as well. Um, let's see, Bitcoin does have a deflationary design. There's only 21 million that will be in existence, as you can see here, known quantities. Gold, there's over 9.5 billion ounces of gold available, as we know, or not in available, but in supply. About 6.83 billion in circulation. Remaining unmined is 1.74. Sorry, this might be 8.5 billion ounces. liquidity, there is a highly liquid. Um, you can use Bitcoin to purchase things if you wanted to. I'm not exactly sure why you would do that. And Bitcoins are broken down into satoshis, which are like partial Bitcoins. Um, so take a look at this and see some of the comparisons to gold. Now, what I find very interesting here is approximately 6.83 billion troy ounces of gold have been mined, with the price of gold reaching a record high of $3,051. And basically, look, if the total global supply of gold were reduced to 19.8 million ounces, which is the number of Bitcoin that we have, uh, the estimated price of gold per ounce would be approximately $1,052,786. Now, that is, I believe, why there's such a huge bull case for Bitcoin. And you may hear these crazy numbers coming from, Michael Saylor or Tom Lee or, other investor Bitcoin enthusiasts, saying that they expect $1 million Bitcoin to $15 million Bitcoin in the next 20 years. It is a possibility, and it's not. If Bitcoin gets the same type of interest as gold does, and say the market cap of Bitcoin goes up to say $20 trillion, which is the current market cap of gold, um, then it could very well go to a million. $10 million as well. And so, where are we at with Bitcoin in the current cycle? So, I'll show you. This is the current Bitcoin um, charts on the monthly scale. And so, we are kind of in this bull run, which has kind of been just a steady rise following this line here. And so there's a lot of speculation that Bitcoin will continue to go down in this current downtrend. It might hit, I don't know, on a monthly chart, it might hit. You need to pan out your charts whenever you're doing this. I think a lot of investors, they look too closely at the chart, and you can draw some trend lines just looking at the daily chart on a short period of time. So, for example, you might build a trend line here, and that's a legitimate trend line. I mean, I'm not saying there's not, but in order to kind of see where possible balances will be, please, I think you need to pan out, especially on Bitcoin, and see where the overall trend is. Um, so there could be, I believe, a trend line here. Um, One thing I've been calling on my channel is I think it would be um, good to see that Bitcoin kind of starts to make a new trend line here. That's not a proven trend line, but Bitcoin really needs to start to show some type of exponential growth in this bull run, because currently we have only seen linear growth. And look at this trend line here on the top side. Um, See, this is here on the top side. This is just basically linear growth from 2018 on the top side, going all the way through to this current bull run. If you believe in the scarcity of Bitcoin and you believe, that this is a store of wealth, uh, it's going to have exponential growth. So one other interesting thing I can show you is kind of the chart for gold. And, let me pull that up here. So this is a monthly chart for gold. And one thing I drew here, which is very similar to the chart I just pulled for Bitcoin, is like this is basically the price of gold, and it's spiked a few times among its lifetime. There's one spike over here in the 80s, and then a spike here in 2011 or so. And we're just getting another spike now. So these spikes happen, I believe, during times of high inflation or when after periods of money printing. So I believe 2011 spike was after the 2008 crisis where there was a lot of money being printed. Same here. We just got through with COVID and the money printers just ended, but we're now seeing this flight to gold where inflation has started to kick in. Um, but if you look at this trend line here, this is very similar to what Bitcoin's looking like on this trend line as well. Sorry, let me pull this up. Pull the monthly chart here. So look at that. Like this chart is the price of Bitcoin right now, and here's the price of gold. Now, given the price of gold is over across a very long time frame, but you do see, look, that gold is starting to break through this trend line. Now, will gold just be this store of wealth that will continue along this exponential growing process? I don't know. It seems to just peak when there's inflation, and that's the difference between Bitcoin and gold. Because Bitcoin does not just peak during times of high inflation; it's peaking every 4 years, right? Because the supply of gold is diminishing. It's getting smaller, not smaller and smaller, but it is the demand is getting bigger and bigger, but the supply is staying basically the same with some very little growth. Um, so that is our comparison between Bitcoin and gold. Uh, but now I have just another thing to go through with you, which I just discovered pretty recently. Look at this current bull run. Okay, now this is from the very low of the last bull run cycle, and and we have been kind of going up along this linear line. So similarly on the top side, there's linear growth. When I mean linear growth, it's going on a straight line. It's not exponential growth where, for example, let me draw here what exponential growth might look like. Exponential growth would be something like this, and then a bull run with a blow off top. So this could be, let's say, the price of Bitcoin. This is this is an exponential um, bull run, but also, looking at this chart here, if we were to see Bitcoin growing exponentially across bull runs, the top of the Bitcoin would have to be somewhere around here. Now, let's compare previous cycles. What did they look like? And so this will be, I think, pretty interesting. So if you just look at, let's say, the 2017 cycle, it's very hard to see because you just see this very small, very kind of almost horizontal line here. But let's draw this out here, drag this out. Look, remember, I drew that initial line from the bottom of the previous bull cycle. And what is the bottom of the previous bull cycle? It's right here. So look at this line. Like, let's say I drew a line here. This is kind of what we're seeing right now. Maybe something like this, right? And what we haven't seen is this growth here. So we've drawn out, this is the kind of line that we're tracking right now in the current bull run. Where is this run? Look at that. Where is this run? We have not seen this yet, and this is what people are calling for. All of the people that follow Bitcoin are calling for it. Well, I'm sorry. A lot of people are saying there will not be this year, um, but I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe the tariffs and micro factors. Maybe there are people that are manipulating the market, holding the price of this down. But how long can the high price of Bitcoin be held down? How long can. So I believe Trump is kind of setting us up for us to have some type of blow off top. He cares a lot about the stock market as I believe he's just trying to hold the market down so that we can. And what people say is so that we can refinance the current debt under a lower interest rate, and then once the country goes into a recession or close to recession, then what we're going to do is turn on the quantitative easing or the money printers to again shock the market into a blow off top. Now, I just showed you 2021. Let's look at 2018 now. So you think, okay, well, that was just one bull run, Ron. That's nothing. Look at this. Okay, so this is the 2018 bull run. I noticed, for example, as time goes on, at least from 2018 to 2021, 2017 to 2021, 2017 bull run was very short. It appears to be very short. Let's draw this out. Let's pull this out. The thing is, in order to see where we're at, look at this. So this is now, remember, I drew it from the previous bull run's bottom. Here's the bull run's bottom, and here's the line that I drew. That's the linear line. This is where we're at right now in this current bull cycle. We are still tracking through this linear line. Now, what we haven't seen again is this, which is huge. It's so big that when I pan this down, you can't even see the line, the slope of the line that I'm drawing, right? So let me see. Let me pan this out. Look, we can't even see the slope of this line when I pull in the tops here. So this is the part where we haven't seen in this current bull run, and does that make sense? Um, so now let me go back to 2020, where we're at right now. Look, this is where we're at right now, linear. And in order to, like, if I just kind of try to reproduce what we just saw and what I demonstrated for 2017, 2021, this is what we are looking at. The other bull runs did something like this. Um, who knows where it would end up. Um, some people are only calling for like a bull run up to here, like 150. Um, I have two ways of estimating this based on data. One is a rule where it involves two things that have happened in the past. And we don't have many data points for this, but it's just a way for me to estimate how big the bull run will be. Um, so in the last cycles, this bull run retraced from its top 80% from here down to here. 80%. And it retraced basically back to the top of the previous bull run. So we have those two data points. So using this estimation, you could determine based on the same rules and apply it to this current bull run. So let's say, so what I mean is like in the last bull run, it retraced from 68,000 down to what, 15, 16,000. That's an 80% retracement, which lined up with the top of the previous bull run. So using that same number and retracing back here, let's say, let me pull out the calculators and show you how this is done. So let's say the previous bull run was at 68,000, 69,000. Okay, I'll say 68,000. Divide this by zero point 0.2, and that will tell you how much the bull run would have to go so that when we do an 80% retracement back, it would hit 69,000. So um, that's where I come up with this initial number here. So we would say it would maybe go somewhere like here. So that's one estimate for how high bull run can go. It's a high number, I admit. And whether it can hit that, I'm not saying that it will. But that's just based on some true estimates of previous bull run data. Um, there is another way to estimate the bull run, um, which right now it's just I forgot what the actual method was, but I believe that came out to, oh yeah, now I remember. Um, now this is based on data that people are telling me though, and so this is where you have to be cautious. Is that the word on the streets or the word in social media is that there will be 8 to 11 trillion dollars that are being that the total crypto market will be fed, and the total crypto market cap will be 8 to 11 trillion dollars in this bull run cycle. That does sound in line with that number that I've just given you. Um, However, if you use that logic and then you also look at the Bitcoin market cap and what its market cap was at the top of the bull run cycle in 2021, it was around 43% of Bitcoin was at 43% of the total market cap. So, given that, what we would do is say take $11 trillion times 0.43 equals $4.73 trillion on the Bitcoin market cap, as an expected market cap of Bitcoin. Now, maybe it'll be a lot higher though. Maybe Bitcoin will actually dominate this market cap. So this is just, I think, possibly a low end estimate on the way of using this. So let's see what that would be. What is Bitcoin's market cap right now? Bitcoin market cap. No, that's a dominance chart, which you can see. Um, Bitcoin market cap. Uh, Excuse me. Bitcoin market cap, say here, $2 trillion at its peak in our cycle. About $2 trillion. Um, and the market, what was the price on that date? 2 trillion at around 102, 103. So 4.73 divided by 2 trillion times the price of Bitcoin at its peak, which was around 102, 103 on the monthly chart. So 243 is another estimate for Bitcoin using that method, but assuming a lot, assuming that the total market cap of crypto goes up to dollars. So there's another estimate here. Now, what if Bitcoin's market cap was 60%? You know, that would be another, that would be more like this, back to here, around 360. So our range for the estimate for Bitcoin is probably between here and here based on data that we have. Now, obviously, it could go over here and be a little bit lower than 240. But remember the previous bull run cycles. Like, okay, look, remember this is the linear growth that we're seeing right now, and look at the blow off top. What did that look like again in 2021? Let me do this again. I don't think So here's the linear line that we drew in 2021 from the low to the high. Now look at the blow off top here. It's not even off the chart, on the chart, right? So now let's go to the cycle here. This is the linear line that we're seeing, and we haven't seen the blow off top yet. So the reason I believe the slopes here are so much different between bull cycle to bull cycle, you may be asking, okay, well, yeah, in the last bull cycle, the slope was a lot smaller, and now you're looking at a very steep slope. Well, I think that's just the exponential chart that, and why you have to follow an exponential chart for Bitcoin is because there's been exponential growth with Bitcoin, which is very interesting. Um, Now, without even you know changing the chart here and still looking at the overall trend of Bitcoin from 2018 to 2025, look, the top of Bitcoin here has been a linear line so far. So once again, this is why it makes more sense that we should see this blow off top in this bull cycle, because we see exponential growth on the bottom side of the chart. But what we haven't seen yet is this exponential growth on the top line of the chart. And wouldn't it be more realistic, given the history of bull cycles, to see Bitcoin do something more like this, or even the 340, whatever? If we draw 340 up here like that, this seems more realistic to me in terms of the price of Bitcoin. And so only time will tell. This is not financial advice. This is not a prediction like I'm Nostradamus or anything like that. This is just based on data, based on historic data. And, obviously, one of the rules of financial investing is past performance does not predict future, past history does not predict future performance. Um, but people use obviously past history to perform predictions. And with something like a system, Bitcoin is software, it's a computer system. Uh, it works a certain way. And that's why the I believe the price of Bitcoin is so much more predictable than, say, a stock, where stock is based on the performance of a company, which is varying and depends on the performance of the company itself. The performance of the stock depends on the performance of the company itself. So that is my presentation for today. I hope you found it valuable. Please, please, it's very hard to grow a YouTube channel, and this is my very first video. If you find this interesting, please like and follow and give me just some inspiration to want to do this more, to research more, and I want to help everyone. Like, this video is for investors, like retail investors, for them to understand and for them to get kind of seeing the power of Bitcoin as well as um, other cryptocurrencies. But I'm not going to be just doing Bitcoin videos. I'm going to be doing other cryptocurrencies. I'm going to be doing potentially videos on sports, potentially videos on politics, anything where there's data involved. I want to be presenting this. This is kind of my life skill. I've had like an affinity to numbers and data ever since I was a kid. Um, my dad was a math professor, and I never really, it's not like math was a huge interest of mine, but I just always was had a natural understanding for data and numbers. So a little bit more about myself before I do go. I was a top 20 math student in the state of Ohio, and most of the kids that were in that league had parents who were pushing them really hard, who were doing like after school activities, like taking math classes after school or going to university early. I wasn't like that. I had a very normal childhood and I loved sports more than anything. Loved music more than anything. Wasting my time on video games all the time. But you know, I when I took all of the standardized tests, I was always ranking 99.9 percentile in math. Um, I got an award from the governor as one of the top 100 students in the state of Ohio. In high school, in senior year in high school, my math teacher asked me to join the math team, and we had one of the best math teams in the state. Um, and I should have maybe have been in math team the whole time, but when I joined the math team, I showed like I placed like top 10, top 20 in the state in math competitions. Um, I was number two or sometimes number three in our school for math. One of the math teams I was on placed, I want to say, third in the nation. It was mainly due to this one kid that we had on our team who was the number five math student in the United States. Um, but I was a part of that team, and and then in college I did major in mechanical engineering, but I was one of the top two or three math students at Cornell University, not studying like theoretical math. So there were definitely math students that were a lot higher and better than me, but just in terms of from a computational, engineering math perspective, doing calculus and system dynamics and differential equations and things like that. I always got like A pluses in those courses, which were only given to the top one or two students in the whole class. Um, and so my interest in my work with data kind of came about just by a career that I took into engineering and information systems. I I don't even right now I'm using data engineering. I do data engineering and analytics engineering. um, I have an affinity for analytics, but I don't really get to do it much because I'm more focused on setting up the data and analyzing the data, testing it, and making sure it's good for the whole company. And this is why I'm doing this channel, is because I have this unused, untapped skill, which I've used at companies before, and in future videos I'll talk about some of the things that I have done. Um, so this is not all about Bitcoin, is my point. And so if you like data analytics and you want to see how people use numbers and see how people use relationships with data to kind of make predictions, you know, please like and follow. All right, thank you